Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Grossman Files. Hey. We got a great one for you today. Yes. We got a great one for you today. What's going on to everybody out there, the people of the world, people of the so-called world? Hold on, I got to put up a little bit of an acoustic baffle for myself over here. There we go. Cut down a little bit on the echoes. So what are we doing today? Well, we got an action-packed show for you today. One that I didn't even think was really necessary, and in reality, it isn't, because is any of this necessary? Is anything necessary? Yeah, I guess some things are. But anyway, but another Maury Terry lie show, another show where I prove to you in stark 100% black and white, obvious, hit you in your face clarity that this guy, Mo Terry, was nothing more than a bullshit artist to the 1000th degree. Do we really need another example of it? Well, it turns out that, yeah, we do. Just because I'm a little bored today and I wanted to bring you some new information that no one in the world has ever seen before regarding another lie by Mo Terry. So, so we got some things to do for you today. So hope everyone's doing well out there. We got Near Gutter's Path. It's the only person I see so far in the chat. Make yourselves known. What's going on, Near Gutter? How you doing over here? Well, the truth is, as you all know, this latest Arlis Perry hoax is just one in a string. Dozens now at this point of debunkings that we've done of Mo Terry, the liar, the guy who thought nothing of just bullshitting you right to your face, the dude who saw fit to literally make stuff up out of thin air when he needed to, as we've proven on many occasions. And our track record goes back years. And of course, I just don't call myself that. I also say my boys John Catalano were involved in uncovering a lot of the Maury Terry hoax. Book Club Warrior 22 was pivotal in the early years of picking out hoaxes. So, I could just give you a list of 20 at this point. But let's just talk about our biggest, greatest hits before we enter into this Arless Perry hoax, which you guys aren't going to believe, like, how crazy a liar Maury Terry was. What's going on, Art Ben? Well, Maury Terry was a drunkard. I mean, that was his whole raison d'etre. The dude constantly was talking about being in bars and drinking and the Pine Street Irregular Drinking Club, of which Carl Denaro was an active member of that. These guys just all sat around and got drunk together. And, and the end result is the ultimate evil. And of course, Maury Terry's shit-stained files, which are unbelievably embarrassing when you actually look at them. What's going on, Vincent Rodriguez? That's a new name I haven't seen before. Good to see you. And of course, we've gotten a lot of new subscribers lately from the Ace Frehley videos, the Tom Hazelby show down in Philadelphia that we did, the New York Post article where Lorenzo and I were featured. So it's good to see everybody in the chat today getting along. Well, of course, our greatest hits basically involve totally debunking Brooklyn. Of course, the Cecilia Davis hoax. Here we have Cecilia Davis. For those of you unfamiliar with the case, Cecilia Davis was walking her dog Snowball. No, you're not allowed to comment about the camel toe. She was walking her dog Snowball when Berkowitz walked up to her, scaring the bejesus out of her, and then he continued on his way. She went inside the house, and then he proceeded to shoot Stacy Moskowitz and Robert Violante. and she was touted as the best eyewitness to the killer back in the aftermath of the Moskowitz shooting. And she became very famous because she was the one who told the police about the parking ticket. And of course, Maury Terry's hoax in that regard was that Berkowitz drove after the cops. He drove away. So he never drove away. It's in no confession. It's in no contemporary newspaper articles in the aftermath of the arrest. It's in no police report that it exists that Cecilia Davis ever mentioned anyone getting in a car and driving away. And of course, we were the ones who totally debunked the the yellow VW hoax, a complete farce of a joke. The yellow VW gets huge ratings in the Ultimate Evil into the current crop of morons because it was seen driving away. There's so many things driving away in this story of Maury Terry's. Right after the shooting, a guy got in wearing a cheap wig, and drove away. And of course, almost got into an accident with Alan Masters. And we know what he screamed out. I don't have to do it for a 5 millionth time. Yeah. Or a she, actually, because people thought it was wheat. Sorry, I still have this little chest cold. Can't seem to get rid of. People thought it was freaking wheat car. I used to spew that who-sow about wheat car, and then when I found out about Sally O'Hara, I used to talk this who-sow about it was Sally O'Hara in the yellow Volkswagen. I had no idea what I was talking about. I was reporting from people who had bullshitted me back in the 2000s, and I didn't have any clue because I was a naive kid. So anyway, we debunked the yellow Volkswagen. It turned out that whoever got in the car did it a full 12 to possibly 15 minutes after the shooting. It had nothing whatsoever to do with David Berkowitz or Son of Sam in any way, shape, or form, unless you believe the shooter, right, who wasn't David Berkowitz, because David Berkowitz was there. He admitted he was there. He confessed fully to it. Yeah, it was eyewitnesses to him. But you'd have to believe that the shooter stayed in suspended animation in a very busy and crowded Brooklyn park in the middle of a mobbed up neighborhood. That was Sammy the Bull Gravano's neighborhood. So this shooter would have had to have stayed in suspended animation in the middle of a park for about 12 to 15 minutes before getting into the yellow Volkswagen and driving away. And of course, we cannot ever forget the greatest of all debunkings that we did of Maury Terry, leading up to today's topic of a new Arlis Perry thing that I found. We're ease on down the road. We're gonna ease on down the road. Billy the artist.
Weeks, hung out with all of them. They were pretty cool. They were all right.
But Maury Terry is saying that you saw John Carr, that you saw the leader of the Son of Sam cult.
All right. The truth about all that is I kind of lied to Maury Terry, and just like he was lying to everybody else. And right now we're going to fucking pull the lid off the whole deal. All right. I'm sorry, folks. I'm not the most truthful person. Right. So I kind of bullshit him. Who-sow. A lot of who-sow.
Now, it worked both ways because you said
yeah, I had these drawings, which you'll see soon if you haven't already. I had these drawings that I did in school of like comic book people. The one of the old man is from a Conan book. And the one of the guy with the beard that's Jimmy Olsen in the disguise. And there's another one that I gave him of a girl crying. And I told her that that girl was with this guy, Ken was the name I made up. And he says, oh, yeah, there was a Ken there. He says, do you know where he was from? I says, I think he was from Britain because he kind of talked like this. He goes.
So, yeah. So, of course, Billy the Artist, after we did that amazing interview, the first ever, made absolute history in the Son of Sam community. Well, we ended up finding those very drawings in Conan number 38, I believe it was. These were the drawings that Maury Terry told us were of cult members in Untermeyer Park. As we see Billy the Artist with his one and only unique t-shirt. It's all Huso. So Maury told us that this that this was Moloch. Maury told us that this was Moloch. But in reality, it was Gimel Ishbi from freaking Conan number 38, and he told us that this was Maria, allegedly Suzette Rodriguez, who people still to this day write that she was part of the Son of Sam cult. But and she was crying because Ken was mean to her. Well, it's actually Amidas from the same comic book. Maybe we'll do a show on that comic book. We'll see if Gimel Ishbi and Amidas play any further roles. So yeah, this was what Maury Terry had people running around going, the artist, he drew the cult members. He drew them. We all know that. It was the artist. Billy the Artist was the man. Everybody loved him after we showed him actually, not everybody loved him. People made the argument with me. He's a liar. So he lied to you. Oh, well, I found the photos, the comic book art that he told me the truth about. And he couldn't have lied to Maury and lied to me because the stories were polar opposite. So he was lying to one of us, either me or Maury. I found that he was telling the truth, and I found that he lied to Maury. So Maury then used this story, which of course y'all should remember that Maury Terry paid for, just like he paid David Berkowitz for his participation. Maury used this story as a bench stone, a cornerstone in his argument that there was a cult in Untermeyer Park running around, killing kids and burying them in the park and all sorts of stuff. As an MT outsider and look at those drawings, it's difficult to understand how anyone could take this seriously. Yes, I agree with you 100%. We took it very seriously. I was one of the biggest Maury Terry heads there was. I used to make a fool of myself, Art Ben. I used to write to local newspapers, letters to the editor saying, we must uncover the Son of Sam cult. It happened in our area. These people are still around. I actually used to write that to people. Can you believe it? And of course, one of the other pièce de résistances of Maury Terry's total hoax on the public was the use of Alex Verrone, his classmate from his schoolmate from Sacred Heart High School in the 60s, which he never talked about. And of course, Alex Verrone is the snap suturer. I think it might talk about suturing snaps. Well, this was a real sick guy. And why are we showing him? Well, because he was Vinny and Danny in the UItimate Evil. I did a whole series of shows on it. So you could read about this guy. He's sick. Read about what he did. He's absolutely sick. This is who looks a lot like Rocker Mike. They have the same phenotype. This is always the phenotype of a sick spiritually sick, snap suturing child molester. They usually always look like this. So anyway, this is Alex Verrone. He was Vinny and Danny, and Vinny and Danny, unbeknownst to me until fairly recently, he was the guy who provided the picture. This is the picture of the church. Remember in the Ultimate Evil, Maury Terry makes a whole to-do about they draw a picture of the church that they gathered in, and well, this is it. Oh, he's a Mason. That's got to help. A lot of them are Masons. And we know that that's Vinny and that's Alex Verrone because this is the same handwriting as this. And this is one of the Vinny and Danny letters. And those of you who are familiar with the Ultimate Evil know that I'm telling you the truth on that because he talks about that, sir, as proof. Some were hits, pornography is involved, snuff films on videotape. I mean, this is sick stuff that these people wallow in because, I mean, it all exists on the planet Earth, but not in the Son of Sam case. So I really have no idea, but I have no idea how old the church is. You can tell me when you find it. Smile. I do know this. There's a tree in front of a church. Oh, a church has a pitched roof. Wow. How detailed. And it had some kind of awning on a church. Maury Terry made a whole side journey in the Ultimate Evil about this church, about how this is where the Son of Sam cult met, and Mr. Real Estate had the deed to this church. This is the proof that the church exists. The guy doesn't even know maybe there's a window up top. I mean, can you believe this? This is the picture of the church from the Ultimate Evil. All right. So now you know. Again, we know that that's Vinny and Danny because, of course, it's the same handwriting as the famous Vinny and Danny letters. So this had to have been done by Vinny or Danny, which, of course, is the spiritually sick snap suturer, Alex Verrone. So anyway, all right, so let's get to our, and one thing I wanted just to bring up, this is in regards to our last show about Berkowitz bragging about criminality possibly needed by the Bronx sniper. I found this, I was going through the Savino archives, all of the, for those of you who don't know, Wendy kept all the newspapers from the Son of Sam era. She still has them. I took every one of them and I scanned them. This is from an article. And people who defend Berkowitz saying he could never be the Bronx sniper. First of all, why would you ever say that? Of course he could have been. I'm not saying he was, but we've shown you ample proof that he contained all the skills needed to potentially be the Bronx sniper. And of course, here we find another little tidbit. The man, he used to laugh for no apparent reason. That's what John Rinciari used to say about him. We'd ask what he was laughing about. I just thought of something funny. The man remembers that David dated occasionally and even had a steady girlfriend, but that sometimes he would disappear for 4 nights in a row. And then he goes to the army. So this disappearing 4 nights in a row would have happened contemporary with his time in Co-op City, which was the time when he was in the neighborhood. The same exact neighborhood that the Bronx sniper was doing his thing in that summer that Berkowitz came to that neighborhood. Sometimes he would disappear for 4 nights in a row. So people who are defending Berkowitz, so he could never be the Bronx sniper, like that's just another little piece of information you have to deal with. But let's get to our topic of the day. So, of course, many of you may remember, and I just recently reminded you in my post section about my first video about Arlis Perry that I did now going on 3 to 4 years ago, called the Arlis Perry hoax and the Ultimate Evil, about how Berkowitz didn't know a damn thing about the Arlis Perry killing. He found out everything he knew about it from his friend D, the insane Berkowitz fan, the Chris Claw of her era in the late 1970s, D channel. They were true crime buffs together. I did a whole show on that, showing the letters between the two, talking about their little true crime buff club. And Berkowitz got all of the Arlis Perry clippings from that summer of 1979, or that winter, or whenever they were conversing with each other. And that's how we knew about Arlis Perry. And then all of a sudden, Maury takes it to like the 20th degree. But, you know, like, we never really knew Maury's methodology there. Like, you figure, all right, he can't just outright lie about this. There has to be something there that shows that he was truthful in this, and thinking that Berkowitz knew Manson too. And Manson too at a cult meeting showed a picture of Arlis Perry, and that's how Berkowitz knew about it. Like, you never think that someone's going to lie to your face so badly. But alas, Maury Terry did. And, you know, how you deal with that is between you and whatever God you worship. I've come to the conclusion that Maury's a liar, and I live my life accordingly. I don't get angry about it. I don't lament about a time past when the world was great because I believed everything was run by elite pedophiles. I moved on in my life and concerning myself with these things about Maury Terry and that he got into. But I understand that if you have this worldview that elite pedophiles run the entire planet and they were involved with Dr. Carlton Dusek at freaking Untermeyer Park, and somehow or other Roy Cohn was hanging out with David Berkowitz and the entire gay underground while people were getting mail out of Berkowitz's apartment, bringing it to Ace Brown's place. I mean, if that's the world you want to believe in, that's fine. If you want to believe in the world of where Billy the Artist was telling the truth and where Alex Verrone's information was viable, that's cool. I understand. It's like a table leg. You can't take a table leg away, and your whole worldview would be torn asunder. I understand that's the difficult thing to deal with. But I'm not the person who lied. I'm just the person reporting on the lie. So today what we're going to deal with is a little bit deeper. It goes deeper into the Arlis Perry lie, because you figure that this guy, Maury Terry, wouldn't just make something up out of whole cloth, wouldn't take the exact opposite of what actually happened in the real world as presently constituted and report it to you in his book, The UItimate Evil, as something that actually happened. Like, you never think to yourself that somebody would do that. But as we're going to see, I'm going to show you how badly you were fooled. Because listen, when it comes to Son of Sam truth, if you want it, you come to me. All right, guys. So this is going to deal with the story about the two sheriffs that visited Berkowitz in prison from the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Department. And from the UItimate Evil, the relevant passage is, on December 3rd, the night before, I met with Rick Piensiak. I received a call at 9 p.m. It was Detective Sergeant Ken Kahn of the Santa Clara Sheriff's Department. What are your plans for tomorrow, he asked. Work during the day, and I'm supposed to meet somebody at 6 tomorrow night. Why? What's up? We're in New York, and we'd like to get together with you if we could. It took a minute for that to sink in. Kahn and his partner, Tom Beck, were calling from a Holiday Inn near Kennedy Airport. Does Santucci know you're in town? No, we just blew down from Buffalo, Attica. What? You didn't? I'm afraid we did, Kahn said slowly. Kahn explained that Berkowitz initially refused to talk with them, but then felt sorry they'd come such a distance and agreed to acknowledge their presence. He told them that he feared for his father's life, that he would have to exist in prison and couldn't be considered an informer, and that inmates would kill him if he was seen talking to cops. He also said he knew Lee Chase, that's D Channel, sent news clips to Santa Clara without his permission. Now here's the important bit. He told us he wasn't lying about the Arlis murder, that he knew who did it and why, but he wouldn't give up any names, Kahn said. He told us that some state college in Bismarck would provide a key to the solution. Here, Kahn was mistaken. The police assumed Berkowitz meant Junior Bismarck College, which Arlis attended. Only later, when replaying the tape, did they realize he mentioned another school, Mary College. Quote, we're convinced he knows about the killing, unquote, Kahn added. You were right. He was very sincere. He said he met the killer, or one of them, at a cult meeting in New York, but that's all he'd give us. Berkowitz had already written to Chase about where he'd met one of the killers, so this wasn't news. The information about the college was new, however, although Berkowitz had hinted about a school in his letters. The most important outcome of the meeting was that Santa Clara County detectives saw for themselves that Berkowitz was leveling with those involved in the case. But there was a big price to pay for this firsthand assessment of the son of Sam. He's going to write to you and Felix Gilroy and say he's through with all this, Kahn said. So here we have in black and white, Maury Terry and the UItimate Evil saying that the detectives absolutely believe Berkowitz knew about the Arlis murder. They specifically Maury has them quoted as, "We're convinced he knows about the killing. He knew who did it, but wouldn't give up names. He told us of some state college." It's talking about colleges now for some inexplicable reason. He's reinforcing that he was at a cult meeting and he met the killer or one of them. Of course, that Maury Terry gets the obligatory "you were right" in there. And of course, Maury Terry's acting as if he has any say over any of this. "No, you didn't. I'm afraid we did. Santucci's not going to like this. Oh, does Santucci know you're in town?" So Maury Terry's acting as a spokesman now for Santucci, as a gatekeeper for Santucci. When in reality, we know from listening to the tapes between Herb Leifer and Maury that they thought he was insane, that they basically treated him like a mental patient, told him that everything that he said didn't check out. So this is pretty black and white. Like, I didn't write this. To anybody pissed off at me for showing this, like, I didn't write this. Right? Somebody's reporting that their chat's messed up. I don't know what to tell you is over here. So I didn't write this. Maury Terry wrote all this. He wrote very clearly that Kahn believed Berkowitz knew all about Arlis Perry, that this reinforced Berkowitz being at the cult meeting or Manson too. Well, I have never seen before documents that prove that this is absolute bullshit, because I actually have the detective report from Ken Kahn. And we're going to read the relevant portion where he talks about his visit to David Berkowitz. So this is the detective report, a little blurry, but don't worry, I'll be able to read it for you, and you can screenshot to your heart's delight. These are the people contacted, and David Richard Berkowitz was there, Attica State Prison. So on Monday, 12/3/79, Sergeant Beck and Sergeant Kahn traveled to Attica State Prison, Attica, New York, where we met with Mr. Harold Smith. Harold Smith, for those who don't know, is the superintendent of Attica State Prison. We explained the nature of our investigation and requested Mr. Smith's assistance to allow us to interview David Berkowitz, who is presently incarcerated at Attica. Arrangements were then made to bring Mr. Berkowitz to one of the interview rooms. We then sat with Berkowitz, and after identifying ourselves, explained the nature of our contact. At first, Berkowitz was reluctant to talk with us. However, we were able to interview him for approximately 30 minutes. This interview was tape recorded without Berkowitz's knowledge, and the tape is in possession of the investigating officers. During the interview with Berkowitz, he advised that the only information he had concerning the Arless Perry murder is from what he had read in newspaper articles sent to him by an individual named D. Channel. However, later Berkowitz stated that he had heard about the murder from someone. Berkowitz denied being involved in the Arless Perry murder and alluded to the fact that D. Channel had initiated the information to our office as well as to the information to it. Terry Gardner of Minot, North Dakota. Berkowitz said he thought D. Channel meant well, but the situation has gotten out of hand. Berkowitz expressed his concern for the safety of his father and himself if it were known or thought that he might be a police informant. Berkowitz was asked about the letter he had written to Felix Gilroy regarding Satanist and the occult groups. Berkowitz denied being a member of any such group. However, it appeared to us that he did have considerable knowledge of the occult activities. Berkowitz became very nervous during the interview when we asked him whether or not he had talked to the individual who allegedly had killed Arlis Perry. Berkowitz evaded answering this question and would not confirm nor deny having this information. It was at this point during the interview that Berkowitz told us that other inmates would think he was a snitch because he was talking to us for 30 minutes and wanted to return to his cell. The interview was then terminated. During the interview with Berkowitz, it was learned that the anonymous news clipping sent to Santa Clara from New Orleans had been mailed by D Channel. So, what is this saying? It's saying that what we already knew to be true because of Berkowitz's documented history of writing about it. Berkowitz denied being involved in Arless Perry and alluded to the fact that D Channel had informed him. The only information that he had regarding Arless Perry is from what he had read in newspaper articles sent to him by an individual named D Channel. So this D Channel was a troublemaker. Very similar to what Chris Claude does in her current relationship with Berkowitz. She's a troublemaker. She puts things in Berkowitz's head, gets him all involved with other things that he shouldn't be involved with, and then reports back, making him even more crazy. It's very similar to what D did. So here you have in black and white, Maury Terry talking about how Ken Kahn reported to him that he wasn't lying about the Arless Perry, that he knew who did it, but wouldn't give up names. Berkowitz, we were convinced he knows about the killing, but the actual detective report says nothing about that. The only thing it says is the interview with Berkowitz, he advised that the only information he had concerning Arless Perry is from what he read in newspapers. And that was it. So you have a clear and delineated, and we're going to read the rest of this document because it's actually important for other things, not just Arless Perry. But I don't know what to tell you. I didn't write that stuff in the Ultimate Evil about Ken Kahn saying we're convinced he's telling the truth. We're convinced he knows about the killing. You were right, Maury. You were absolutely 100% right. He knows about it. He was at a cult meeting. Where do you see that at all? Like, where did Maury Terry come up with that? Because it's certainly not reflected in any way, shape, or form in the actual police document that Ken Kahn wrote. On Monday, 2100 hours, I made telephone contact with Maury Terry, who advised that the book Anatomy of Witchcraft that had been sent to Lieutenant Gardner allegedly belonged to John Carr. It was later learned that Berkowitz told D Channel that the book belonged to John Carr. D Channel then provided this information to Lieutenant Terry Gardner. Maury Terry advised that he did not have any information concerning our investigation. However, he would contact us in the event that he does receive any new information. Now, check this out, because everybody's always talking about, oh, John Santucci believed it was a cult. The Queen's DA absolutely agreed with Maury Terry. This is an argument that people still make to this day. Well, here's in 1979, Ken Kahn talking to Herb Leifer of the Queens District Attorney, who was the person in charge of this investigation for the Santucci's office. We met with Detective Herbert Leifer, Assistant Deputy District Attorney George Bird, and the District Attorney Investigator of Queens District Attorney's Office. The purpose of this meeting was to exchange information concerning their reopening the investigation of the Son of Sam killings in New York, insofar as whether or not Berkowitz had an accomplice, and recent information concerning Berkowitz's knowledge of the Arlis Perry murder. During the 2.5 hour meeting, it was learned that their investigation has as yet not determined if Berkowitz was ever in California, nor do they have any information to substantiate any direct link between Berkowitz and John Carr. It was also learned that they had sent 2 investigators to Minot, North Dakota concerning the investigation of John Carr's death. In their opinion, they expressed doubts that the deceased believed to be John Carr may not really be John Carr, and were clearly convinced that positive identification has not been made. Furthermore, it was learned that the Queens District Attorney investigators have not communicated directly with Berkowitz, and their investigation thus far has not revealed any leads into the Arlis Perry murder. So here you have them talking to the Queens DA about Queens DA saying no link, nothing between Berkowitz and Arlis Perry, no direct link between Berkowitz and John Carr. This is very different from the way Maury Terry couched it, where they were fully behind them, 100%. Maury Terry has this penchant, as you see, to tell you that law enforcement agencies are backing him 100%, when in reality, it's exactly 180 degrees the opposite. We've seen it with Ken Kahn, because he wrote, "You're right, Maury. Ken Kahn told me I'm right. We're convinced he knows about it." And then Ken Kahn writes the exact opposite. And then you see it now with Queens DA, where Maury's like, "Yeah, the Queens DA, they love me. Everything I said was gold. I can tell them anything, and they trust me for it." And then you see here Herb Leifer telling another actual cop, an actual law enforcement agent, that no, we actually haven't found anything, no direct link. And of course, people are going to glom on to this whole, we're not sure if it's John Carr's body. And the only thing I have to say to that is, since John Carr had nothing to do with Son of Sam, I don't really give a shit. I mean, no offense, Wheat. I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but I can't sit here and worry about whether John Carr was killed or whether he committed suicide or whether he switched out the body or had a body double or any of this crazy stuff that people get into. I can't sit here and worry about that because he didn't have anything to do with Sam. I'm a Sam researcher. The only thing I care about is Sam. Why would I care about John Carr? Why would I care about Michael Vale Barron Charnkowski Carr's credit card habits and where he shopped at the Cross County shopping mall? Like, why would I care about that? And why would I care about Wheat Carr or Sam and Francis Carr or anything related to do with Carr when none of that has anything to do with Sam? That's like saying if I'm into Rush, I should care about Tiny Tim. Like I should be like, what does one have to do with the other? It doesn't. So anyway, guys, that's really all I have to say today on these subjects. There's not much more to add. I wish I could find something more he told the truth about. I would do a show on that. It seems like the only thing he really was truthful about was the names of the players involved and the dates that the shootings took place at. And he was accurate with the date that this Ken Kahn meeting took place. But why is he telling me that that Vinny and Danny were good, solid sources of information when in reality that was a child rapist friend of his from Sacred Heart High School, who at the same time he was talking to Maury, he was also trying to get a deal to get out of to get paroled. Why? I'm not the person who did that. I'm just reporting on it. Why would Maury say that Billy the artist sketched Moloch, Ken, and Maria at Untermeyer Park, when in reality it was comic book characters? Why would he say that Cecilia Davis saw Berkowitz drive away when nothing confirms that at all? And so as he did that, equally so as why would he tell me that Ken Khan was a supporter of his and absolutely said that they believed Berkowitz was telling the truth? Like, that has a powerful impact on the reader. Why would he tell me that when in Ken Kahn's report it says the exact opposite, that Berkowitz heard about this from D channel and the only thing he knew about it was from what he learned about in newspaper clippings. Like, how many more of this do you have to go through until you realize that Maury Terry was a liar, a bully, a manipulator, abuser, a drunkard, a not good friend, a chain smoker, a cigarette smoker, a nicotine addict, a spiritually sick snap shooter, lover, a man who would send you 1,500 feet that way. We really meant 1,500 feet that way. And a man whose mind was veritably drenched and steeped and urine. All right, guys, we'll see you at the next show. Take care.